Hey guys, what's going on? So just wanted to kind of touch base here with another video. I've been kind of watching a little bit of what's going on with the news. I'm not real big on news and things like that, but it's really starting to look like this whole deal with Russia and Ukraine and them wanting America to pull out of European countries and things like that. That's not going to happen. As part of NATO, we're not going to be leaving that. But the real threat of war is really coming up. So I've been kind of looking at a few different videos and stuff that are online and just kind of gathering what a lot of the people's questions are and stuff like that. And the most common question that I'm seeing, or the most common response that seems to be coming out from people is, well, it's winter time right now, and they're asking, well, what are we supposed to do because, it's snowing. They have snow, they can't get to the stores, get stocked up. I'm not trying to sound like, we told you so and things like that, but for years, I know several channels for years have been telling people to start getting prepared. But instead of preparing, people are looking at the extravagant things that they can buy with, in their lives and things like that. And it's all going to be for naught. I mean, it really is. I mean, you should be preparing for your families regardless of what's going on in society. But when you're looking at society, and this is one of the reasons why I really, advise people, read your Bibles, okay? Get into prophetic books, read the book of Revelation, read what Paul's written about. Definitely read what Jesus has talked about, just before the end of times and things like that, the end of the days. We're in that period. I've known people my whole life to go, oh, I really wish that I lived in the biblical days. Well, we are. We're living in the days that are leading up just before the tribulation period and things like that. And while I do believe those who believe in the Lord will be raptured out of this mess before it gets too bad, we're seeing part of it even now. So it doesn't matter what I believe as far as the timing of the Lord's return, what we're going to see. The fact is, we're seeing things happen now that I would have never figured would have happened in our lifetime. And one of the big things is people's like, well, they've been saying this forever, and that's one of the things that the Bible tells us, that there's going to be scoffers in those last days that say, well, they've been saying this since, our father's times and our grandfather's times, and since the beginning that this is coming. And, we're there, guys. As far as, what do you do if you're in a situation? Well, how do you prepare? Well, if you started right now today, and most of you aren't, some of you have been supplying for years, or preparing for years, and the fact is, you're not going to be able to bring all your preps with you and things. All you can do is try to survive as long as you can, but you're eventually going to have to move, so you need to be coming up with some kind of a bug out plan. Maybe your health is bad where you can't bug out, at least not on your own. But you're not going to be able to stay in cities. You're going to have it hard if you're out in the country settings as well. But there are options that you can look at. Get with the community plan made up. What you're going to do. You're going to have to be thinking not just supplies. You need to be thinking about a sustainability level, and that's one of the things that you can prep. Say if you got 3 years supply of preps ready, that's great. But what happens at the end of the 3 years? Do you have a level of sustainability? Are you going to be able to continue on when those preps run out? Because if the grocery stores all close down, then what are you going to do? If our dollar took a hit today, if we woke up just like they did back with the Depression, they woke up and the money was worth nothing, guys. The banks were emptied out. People talk about redistribution of wealth. You need to listen to what's going on in society right now. So the big thing that's being talked about from the left is they want a redistribution of wealth. What they don't seem to realize is the people that they're talking to that are telling them to push for redistribution of wealth, that's not taking from the rich and moving it around the populace. That's taking the money back from everyone and giving it back to the riches who come up with the concept of money. It wasn't us. It wasn't your average day blue collar worker. The people at the top, they need a way to motivate people to work. So they go, okay, well, here's what's going to happen. They now take over 2/3 of your time. You're working for them. You're making them millions, billions of dollars. And for what? To live the American dream, to have a house that's in debt that, the market's going to fall out on. The job market's going to continue to crash. Back in 2008, the job market crashed. I don't know if people remember that. The housing market crashed right after that. There was a lot of people that lost their homes. I had built 2 homes by that time, and I swore after that I was never going to bother building another house. I wanted to have a level where, regardless of what happened, I want to make sure that I was covered. That's one of the reasons why I do have a RV. Now, are you going to be able to drive it on the open roads and things like that? To a degree. There's not going to be a whole lot of fuel, but there will be some diesel fuel. Diesel seems to last longer than gasoline. You need to think about some sort of a mobile preparedness. So you may not be in a physical condition where you can go walking through the woods for miles every day. Maybe you need to be able to drive, have some sort of a 4-wheel drive system if you need it. There's a lot of different options you have, but not to sound bad or mean or anything, guys, and I know it's going to sound bad, but if you haven't been preparing and you've just been doing whatever, and when things go bad, people are like, well, what am I going to do now? I don't feel bad for you at all. I know that's not right to say that, but people have been warning for years that this is coming up. You can look at history and you can see where this is always coming up. You could listen to the narrative that's being driven by our government. They're brainwashing our youth into this, redistribution of wealth, and they think that what that means is they're going to be able to sit at home, and people like Elon Musk, who are worth billions, has to give them their money, and that's not what this is going to be. It's going to be, you're going to work, and you're not going to have anything to show for it. Look at what this administration is currently doing. They're passing the Green New Deal. I know they're saying that they're not, but they are. That's why taxes are continually going up. And if you look at the plan that they have set up, if this administration gets another 4-year term, you're basically going to need to work 2 jobs just to make half of what you're currently making now. Okay, that's just the way things are going to be. Are you going to do that? Are you just going to fall in suit? Or are you going to start trying to get sustainable to a certain degree? I don't know how much time we have before things get real bad. It really could be at any moment. It wouldn't surprise me to wake up and see, things have changed overnight. I can remember back when the World Trade Centers got hit. I had come out of the shower and walked into the living room, and I'm looking at the TV, and I was like, what movie are we watching? It wasn't a movie. Our towers were hit, and we swore we would never forget, but yet we've forgotten. Most of the people in this nation have forgotten. We no longer secure our borders. Anybody can come in. Think about that. Social unrest, terrorist cells that will activate. People are worried about road crews. People are worried about raiders coming in. Well, there's terrorist cells in this country as well. Our government knows about them. They're not doing anything about them. If you don't believe me, look at what happened with the Boston Marathon. Okay? These people were actually on the FBI watch list. Well, what were they doing? Obviously, they wasn't watching, because got 2 guys out there who was on the FBI watch list, and they blew up pressure cooker bombs right there in the marathon. But they was on the watch list. Your government, our government, is not here for the people. It's there for itself. The moment you realize that, the moment you realize the only one you truly have in your corner is the Lord, you can start to prepare on that. Now, He's going to look out for His children. We are also told to use wisdom. It's not a wise thing to just sit back and not do anything. To not even try to get to a point where we're going to try to be sustainable, or at least have something to get us to another location. And that's the reality of what we've got going on, guys. I'm really tired of some of the dialogue that comes across some of these channels. For those that are on my page here, or my YouTube group, it's always great dialogue with you guys. Everyone seems like we're all on the same page, and things would be awesome to be able to meet some of y'all at some point. But everybody has their lives going on, and not everybody can jump into the same types of sustainability and things like that as well. But if you don't have basic survival skills, I'm not talking about walking into the woods with a tent and a butane torch and, some of those little gas, or what are they called? It's some kind of like fire log things in your pockets. Yay, that's great. If you're going on a weekend camping trip, that's great. Are you going to fill your backpack, your bug out bag, full of 100 pounds of stuff when you could actually just take a couple tools that weigh less than a pound and be able to start a fire anywhere you go, to be able to keep warm, to purify your water? you know it's just a real mess what our society is turning into right now. you know I know not everybody believes the way that I believe. I don't really care. you know my life, as far back as I can remember, I had a great childhood. I was given godly principles. I was given godly morals. I was raised in a way where I didn't just get anything I wanted, but I was always supported to go out and earn it, to work for it. That's missing in our society today. And that's not just going to go away, when crap hits the fan, guys. It's just not. It's going to be one of those situations where there's always going to be those who feel entitled to what you've put your work into. So if you're building a survival group right now, if you're not, you need to start. You need like-minded people who are going to contribute something. Maybe what they contribute is knowledge in some sort of medicine, surgeries, nurses, things like that. You need those type of people in your group. If you don't have those type of people in your group, then you need to do some research, see what kind of, they have surgical kits online you can buy. They have books. You can buy books. Now, you're not going to go out and do a heart transplant or something like that, but it could be what you need to fix a broken leg. It could be what you need to do to fix a severed artery. It can be done. May not be as pretty as what they do in the hospital, but you can get those things repaired. You can fix it, and that knowledge is going to help you, but it's going to help your group as well. If you know about tracking, every group is going to need somebody who can track and hunt. I like to play video games like everybody else, and there's some fun ones out there, but there's people out there who's like, oh yeah, I can hunt, and then they're talking about some deer they shot that was on a video game. Well, there's a difference between running around on a video game and actually being in the woods. Because when you're in the woods, depending on the parts of the country you're at, especially the Pacific Northwest, I've done hunting up that way, you have large game, you have large predators. You need to learn how to read the signs, not just of what you're tracking, but pay attention to what's going on around you. Because a bear will eat you. A cougar will eat you. You're not going to have much of a warning system on that if you don't know what you're looking for. So you need to start looking at where you live at. Down here where I'm at in Florida, we do, regardless of what people say, I've seen with my own eyes, we have jaguars here. Some people call it cougars, pumas, things like that. It's not a puma, it's larger than that. There's actually jaguars out this way. There's bobcat. You've got gators. If you're coming down this way, I see a lot of people come down here and they freshwater fish, and they're like standing right on top of the bank. They don't seem to realize that an alligator can explode off that bank at 35 miles per hour, and you're done. Just like that. He's got you, you're done. You're not getting out of its grip. You're not getting out of its mouth, because chances are you're not even carrying any kind of a field knife or anything to fight back with. You're not going to pry its jaws open. There's just too much stuff that people need to get preparing for now, and I don't know how if you got enough time for getting ready, guys. I mean, really, at this point, looks like war is on the horizon. I don't know what that's going to look like. I can tell you one thing that I do believe: America as it is today will not be around. America as it was growing up in the 80s for me is not around. America as it was in the 90s is not around. The early 2000s, it's gone, guys. Here we are in this, new mess of politics. At some point, social science became the norm. We now have people that don't realize that some of these sciences that they're putting out is actually a false religion. They want to try and act like it's not, but it is. Uh, it's just kind of one of these situations where, my heart goes out to you. But for years, I haven't been doing this channel maybe 6 or 7 months now. But I do know that survival living's been around for 2 or 3 years now. There's other channels that have been around for years. There's news outlets that have been around for years. And I'm not talking about mainstream media. They've been around for years. And people like to watch it. But do you take what you're listening to and do you implement it? You can watch a video on how to make a fire with a bow drill. Can you build the fire with a bow drill because you watched a video? Chances are you're not going to be able to because you never attempted it. Eventually, you're going to learn it. But at what cost? You need to think about that, people. Not to get too religious on here, guys, but I'm just sharing from my heart. I do believe that the Lord's going to provide, but I also believe that we have a part to do in that. You can sit around in a ditch and say, well, God's going to provide, God's going to provide, God's going to provide. And He may send those provisions and those means to provide now, a year ago, 2 years ago, and instead of using it in a way that would benefit not just you, but your families, you've used it frivolously. And how many people are going to go, well, I thought He was going to provide. He didn't provide. Look at the story with, story historically. Look what happened with Joseph. Sold into servitude. Pharaoh has a dream. He comes up, says, this is what the dream means. We have a famine coming up. We're going to have 7 good years, and we're going to have 7 really bad years. Here's what we need to do. We need to stock up, start prepping now. How many of you have done that? There's been plenty of people warning about what's coming up. How many of you have started actually prepping? A few of you? None of you? I have no idea. Anybody saying, well, you don't understand my financial situation and stuff like that. And I don't know what your finances are. But I do know that if you bought a can of wheat, there's 52 weeks in a year. All right? It's 52 cans of food you got back a year. And you can buy a can for 88 cents of something. So, you can't say that you can't prep. You can claim you can't, but it's there. It's just one of these situations where there's too many people using excuses of why they can't do it, that they don't even try. Well, you're going to have a hard time very soon. I will be surprised if we make it out of this year with anything resembling what we went into as a country. Honestly, there's a plan. You can call it what you want. What you need to understand is all these governments, they work for a one world system, and it's going to rein everything into that system. So it's not that Russia wants to attack us, or America wants to attack, or China wants to attack. It's all a way to condense power into one source and to destabilize the economies. It's a way to cause social unrest. It's a way to wage war and reduce population. That's what we're at. It's time to wake up. They keep talking about we're no longer at a sustainable level in the world. Man, I don't know. There's plenty of farmland that's being unused. We still have hundreds of thousands or hundreds of millions of hectares. All right, a acre. Sorry, can't hardly pronounce that. Is larger than an acre of land that you would buy. Okay, it encompasses like 100 acres. Is why they call it a acre. Sorry, guys, hard to pronounce that one. But we have resources. They're cut off. They call them national parks. You're not allowed to get anywhere near them resources. Why? Because they need to have that after they wage war. They're not going to hit natural resources and things like that. That's all part of Geneva Conventions and ways to do war. They don't hit those natural resources because it leaves something for the victor. It's going to leave it for the one world government to come in and completely enslave you. And what you need to realize is these road war ideas and raids and stuff, all that's doing is playing right into their hands where they will be able to come in and declare martial law. Now, people said, well, our military they wouldn't do that. Have you not been paying attention to what's going on? Our military, the ones who have taken that oath and actually meant that oath, they are being removed from service because they do not believe in taking a shot. This is a way to weed them out. The yes men from the people who actually think for themselves. That's where we're at in society. You know, it's time you wake up. It's time you stop complaining. It's time to stop worrying and to start thinking. You know, one thing that there's not a shortage of in this country is excuses and people who sit around worrying. You know, I'm not worried about what comes up. Hey, I've got my preps. I've got my sustainability up. If a group comes in and kills me, hey, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to be with the Lord. That doesn't mean I'm just going to roll over and let everybody just walk all over my family. It's not going to happen. The world has already stolen and murdered away too much for me to let that happen. That's where I stand with it. I'm willing to die for my beliefs. Can everybody say the same? You know, I just think that it's one of them situations where the populace needs to wake up. You know, you sit back and you want to write in little comments about how it's snowing right now and you don't know if you're going to be able to go get enough food if things get bad right now. There's hardly anything on the shelves, guys. Have you not been looking around at the stores where it used to be an abundance of everything to where they try to spread it out, but if you look back behind those packages, there's nothing else there. They're facing. I worked at a Walmart when I was 16 years old. They have what they call face zoning, which is where they pull all the stock to the front of the rack to make it look full. Well, when there's nothing to pull to the front and what's there is already faced up to the last carton or the last jar or the last can or the last bag, you need to be realizing, you know what, things is getting pretty serious at this point. But no one seems to really catch on to it, and that's fine, you know. Anyway, guys, I just want to touch base with that, you know. I know this is kind of away from some of our usual content, but I do believe that things are getting at a dire stage, and people need to wake up, you know. No one seems to be caring too much. I'll kind of show you what I got going on back here, guys. I don't know if you can see that. So that's one of my incubators. There's 36 eggs in this incubator. All right, 36. That's going to provide quail. It's going to provide layers. It's going to provide food. In 8 weeks, these can butcher out. I have another incubator on the other side of the RV. It's got 36 eggs in it. So I've got a whole new flock of layers. I've got 36 birds that can be butchered out on the other side. And they're going to hatch within days of each other. Now, I usually get about a 90% hatch rate. So between those, call it 72 birds, if we only get 40, that's a really bad hatch rate. But we only get 40, you know, and let's figure 50% are female. That's 20 eggs a day that's going to be laid that can then be incubated. Now, as far as my incubators and things like that, I have a diesel generator that is EM proof. It's an ONAN military grade. All right, it'll run every appliance in this thing if I need air conditions and stuff like that. Not going to use it for that. Also bought one of those solar generator things that Survival Living put up, and they run about $800. I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of pricey, but if I need to incubate more birds, because quail, unlike chickens, don't go broody. But this thing charges with a solar panel. I might get it out and show it to you one day. But like I say, I'll try and find a link and post it up in the comments for this, guys, and y'all just go over there. There's no sense in making another video. Survival Living has really done a great job on that. I'll get him to post the link up in the comments for you. But it's just, I can use that thing for so many purposes. But my main reason for that is running the incubator. Okay, it's going to charge during the day, keep the incubators running. It's going to run off the battery power at night, keep the incubators running. And it's going to continue to process. Now, as my chicks get going. My chickens, I have one in there, some kind of a bantam breed. It's called a Belgian Duclay. And apparently they go broody very easily. So I'm really hoping that this is a hen because she's about half the size of a normal chick when she fills out. And they're really good for incubating quail eggs. From what I've been reading, I didn't order that particular bird. I'd never even heard of that bird before, but it happened to be put in there. But when I ordered the barnyard mix for this stuff, like always, I always pray about stuff. I pray the Lord's going to help keep those chicks alive. I've not lost a single chick in that group. Things seem to be going great. So I have a natural incubator that's rearing up. Then you're going to have the chickens going on. You know, people are worried about the feed. No, I'm not worried about the feed because I have areas back here. There's 2 acres. All right, 2 full acres of field back here. That's just loaded with bugs every year, and they're going to be able to get all the bugs they want, all the roots they want. There's something called rattlesnake root out here. Apparently, chickens love it. They dig it up, they eat it, they love that stuff. So they got plenty of that out there. There's wild grasses with wheat heads and stuff growing. I won't be growing different types of millet. I'm putting different stuff in the ground in the garden for them as well. But I'm going to come back in about a half acre's worth. I'm going to put millet in and let it grow. And you can chop it for an acre, just an acre of that. And we're going to do half, so we're going to cut the measurement. For an acre of that, you're looking at producing between 7,500 to 10,000 pounds within an acre. So within a half acre, if I get 3,000 pounds of millet, that's way more than I need for the birds, the quail, and the chickens. Now, what do you do with the rest? Well, I'm working on building my own stone mill so I can actually mill it down. Because millet was actually just the sweet millet that I've ordered in, got seeds for. That stuff actually was what they used in the early cereal industry. It was used before they started adding the extra sugars and stuff like that. It was used in bread. It's been used for a lot of different stuff over the years. So there is a source of carbohydrates. There's a bread source right there. That's not including the vegetables and the fruits and things like that. So we've got wild grapevines. I'm learning how to graft those. I'm also learning how to take a wild grapevine, okay, and you can actually relocate it and you can put a separate vine next to it and it will cross pollinate rather than pollinate itself. You ever notice on a wild grapevine the grapes are real small? It's because it's mating with itself. If you have 2 grapevines, they're supposed to be larger grapes. We're going to see. I don't know. This is some research stuff. Is it going to work? Hey man, I have no idea. At the very least, there's 2 wild grapevines that's easily accessible. There's far more berries than I can count that grow out here in the spring. Blackberries, raspberries, things like that. I'm going to be using those come, early summer, late spring when everything's coming up. We're going to make jams and stuff like that, or on preserves and stuff. And fruits are important to have. The reason you want to have fruits and stuff, I don't know if you've ever read any of the research of like the early pirates and things like that. They would die of scurvy and all. It's because they didn't get vitamin C. They wasn't having fruits. And that's why that they drank a lot of rum. When they'd run out of rum, immune system would go down. They'd end up getting scurvy. So I don't really care much for alcohol. I don't like rum, things like that. But that's always something you can do with it. But at the very least, you can make jams with it. If nothing else, you can make pies with it. Things like that. Just have some sort of a source of something nearby. And if you're saying, hey, I live in the city. Hey, I lived in the city. I lived up in Oregon, all right? Right in the city in an apartment. And started seeing things go to crap. So the moment I was able to save up enough money and get out of there, okay, I bought an RV, did some travel for a few years with my dad, and we've come to Florida. Why? Because it doesn't get where you got 8 foot of snow down here. Now, it does get hurricanes and things like that. Hey, it's not going to be perfect anywhere you go. So you just got to kind of take and deal with what you can. Down here, if it rains and it gets real bad, hey, think about it this way. You can capture a lot of that fresh water. One thing we have an abundance of is fish. We have an abundance of alligators. You can guarantee if things got bad enough, I could go down. I've already know where to go. There's areas where you can get you a gator. There's a lot of meat on a gator tail. You know, now I don't advocate poaching animals and stuff like that, but we're talking survival situations where the economy has collapsed, the government has collapsed. You know, there's all kinds of different stuff you can think of. But what you can't do is just sit in like Chicago, sitting down in a city, thinking everything's just going to be okay because you got 10 pounds of grain in the back. But that's not going to last you long. It's not. You know, I've got a pantry full of food. It's not going to last you long. I can fill my little pantry full of cans here, guys, and it'll hold 75 cans. 75 cans. That sounds like a lot, but it's not. It doesn't. It won't last a month. If that's what your main source is and you don't have a sustainable source to add to it, you could have 200 pounds of rice. It won't matter. You can't just sustain yourself on just rice. You need proteins and things to go with that. So that's why I do quail. That's why I do quail eggs. There's a lot of protein in them quail eggs. Now, they're not the size of a chicken egg. You get 4 eggs to 1 chicken egg. But if you got enough birds laying, you actually are getting a higher source of everything in them 4 eggs. And they're laying every day as opposed to every other day or every 3 days. So think about it. Think about your next steps, what you're going to do. What you can't do is just sit around and complain about, well, I don't know what I'm going to do because, you know, I'm not prepared. I don't feel like going out in the snow. And when everything does clear up, there could be absolutely no snow on the ground at all. If you're not ready right now today, let's say it's summertime, beautiful weather, you got plenty of money, and you're not ready today, and we broke out with war and we woke up in the morning and it's now wartime, do you think there's anything that will be on them shelves? No. There's not going to be anything on them shelves. If they come up and they say, you know, oh man, our economy crashed and we're back into another depression, you think you're going to be able to go out to the store and buy anything? No, you're not. You're not thinking ahead, people. So those who are thinking ahead and are preparing, hey, you guys got it going on. You know, I'm proud to have each of y'all on the channel. Got quite a few new subscribers. Thank you for joining in, guys. I hope y'all are enjoying some of the content. I've got everything broke down into playlists for you. If you want to look into tending bees, I've got it in there, guys. It's how to tend your bees, how to start off, what to do with your hive, how to build your hives, things like that. If you want to learn how to do quail, I take you from hatch to raising to laying. I don't show the butcher process. I have shared a few recipes that I use on here. How to pickle your eggs, jar your eggs. There's videos on that, guys. If you're wanting to get into chickens and things like that, I'm still new to the chickens, but it's been 3 weeks now we're coming up on. All the chicks are doing great. Everything's looking healthy out there. Went today, and rather than building an extravagant coop, what I did is I took the old chicken coop that I had originally converted for quail because I've built this nice big cage that's out there. It's in some of the videos, what to do to build it, shows the dimensions, things like that. I've reconverted that back into a chicken coop. I'm making roosting areas in it. I'm making some laying boxes on it. Rather than have that real big concoction I was working on, I'm going to keep things a little more traditional, and it's going to be inside the run. That way, I don't have to worry about if I have to go somewhere, my birds can still get out. They can still come into the safety of the coop in the evenings before I get home, you know. There's a lot of different stuff. I plan on free ranging, but my free ranging is going to be one of those situations where I release the chickens in the morning when I get up, and I'm out there with them. I'll clean the coops, clean the pens, do everything that needs to be done. And when I'm finished, then I'll call them back in to feed. And that's real easy to do. You just don't feed them before they leave. And you call out to them, shake your bag, whatever. I'm going to actually try to train mine to come to the coop with a jaw harp. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. If not, you're in for a treat, because I love to play the jaw harp. I'll sit on the porch and do it, mainly to aggravate the neighbors, because they're like, you know, it's a hillbilly over there, and I'm fine with that. But I want to get them used to when they hear that jaw harp, it's like ringing the dinner bell. So they come running back to the cage and feed, and I can close the pen up, and then that way they've had a chance to get out in free range, get the bugs and stuff that they want, and after about a couple hours they can come in. Now you may be thinking you don't have 2 hours that you can sit outside with chickens and things like that. Maybe it's time you start rethinking your priorities. You know, our priority is not to build a $400,000 home. Our priority is not to own a Mercedes Benz. If that is your priority, then at this point in life, your priorities are messed up. They really are. There's a lot of jobs out there right now that don't require you to get these vaccinations and stuff. They don't pay an awful lot, unfortunately, but there are some jobs, so maybe something you can pick up. I mean, if it's just working as a cashier, if it's pumping gas, they pay you to pump gas out west. That was something I had to get used to. When I went out to Oregon, I got out of the truck, went to put the filler nozzle into my truck, and this guy comes out running out like he's mad, man. And I'm like, what the heck? He's like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, what? You can't pump your own gas. Man, I've been pumping my own gas since I was, 16 years old. What do you mean I can't pump my own gas? There's state laws. They have to pump it. And this guy was making $12 an hour standing out there and pump gas. I was making $10 an hour busting my butt off as a welder, building steel buildings and things like that. All right, working construction. And this guy's making $12 to stand out there and pump gas and complaining he's not making enough money. That's the society we live in. We live in a society today where I believe everyone should make a living wage for a living wage job. Now, there are jobs that are out there, fast food, things like that. Yes, management, they should be getting what they need to be paid. If you're standing in front of a fryer, things like that, you don't need $18 an hour for that. Get real. It's not a skilled labor position where you need to be making $18. That is a high schooler's job. That is a first job, and it's time to move into the next job market. But the reason they have to pay that much is because parents are not having their children go out and get jobs or allowing them to sit in the basement. I'm not going to get on that rant too much right now, guys. Sorry. But I did see an interesting video, and it was guy was acting out Generation Z parents, what they'll be like. For those who don't know what Generation Z is, that would be like my nephew. Okay, and they have kids. Well, this Generation Z parent goes out to find their son. Their son's sitting outside in the woods, just chilling out, looking at bugs, looking up at the stars or the sky. Waiting on the sunset, things like that. He wants to see the stars at night. Well, Gen Z dad comes out and says, what are you doing out here? He's like, well, I just want to come out and get some fresh air. He goes, no, you don't need to be out here. He says, you need to go back inside and get on your phone. That's what they're going to be, guys. The phone is the ultimate babysitter. Just like when I was a kid, TVs, Nintendos, where my family differed is we had limits on how much we could be on it. If it was a school day, you were not on a video game. If it was the weekend, 2 hours top, but not consecutive. You had an hour, then you went out and did some stuff, and you could do an hour in the evening on Saturday. When you got home from church on Sunday, if all your homework was done, you could get on for about 30 minutes. That was it. So this society now is basically buy your kids a new Xbox, throw them on that game, and let them play all day. And that's just, it's not parenting. It's not. It's just, and these kids have absolutely no clue. They actually think that hiking is to walk out on a trail, and that's all there is to it. Not naming names and stuff. He's going to know who I'm talking about. But my nephew, he went out and he was telling me he went and hiked this mountain that, we used to hike as a kid. Well, when I was a kid, this mountain we would hike. The trail was literally, you would look for markers on the trees. There'd be a yellow X. Okay. There was no stairway up the side of waterfalls and up things like that. You walked, you climbed, you pulled yourself up using trees and things like that. That's how it was. Now everything is gravel path, nice stairs. You don't have to worry about getting off the trail and stuff. And half the time we made our own trails. We didn't stick to what little bit of a trail was there, which wasn't much. It looked like a game trail. And we would come across the mountain. As I got older, I would take it and I would jog the mountain. All right. And he was telling me about how he went out and he'd hike this mountain and stuff like that, which, I'm proud he got out there, but it's not like he used to be. You're in a location now where you have a path laid out for you. You know, it's just kind of sad that the parks have got to this point where they had to make the mountains and things like that. They go, well, it's safer, it's more accessible, but they're destroying nature to do it, and it's all because you know people don't know how to act in the woods because they can't get out from a video game. And you got like it's like pulling teeth to get some of these kids off a video game to go do something, or they talk about being single. I've talked to a lot of different people, a lot of different age groups, and they talk about being single and how they're lonely. You know, I've been single for 12 years now, guys. I'm not lonely at all. I've had a great time. If you're single and you hate it, you're not doing it right. Now, I'm not talking about running out with the wild women or you ladies running out with wild guys or whatever your preference is. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. It's not my business. Uh, you can do anything you want to do. If you want to go fishing, go fishing. If you want to go hunting, go hunting. If you want to go out and ride in your car and have it quiet or blare you music, whatever music you want to listen to, go for it. It's been kind of nice for me. I don't have to worry about coming home, and someone complaining about something I have absolutely no control over, because someone got the order wrong at the fast food place. Did you go in? Did you let them know they got the order wrong? No. What do you want me to do about it? You want me to go down there with a burger and shove it and just rub it in his face and say, bad, bad, bad burger cook? No. I mean, come on, man. There's a time to get with reality and to get away from the crazy stuff of life, But anyway, I hope everyone's having a great evening. I hope you enjoyed some of the goofy stuff we talked here at the end. But seriously, get prepared. Things are. I'm hoping you got enough time. I don't know. But everyone have a great week.